Hello YouTubers and fellow hams. Magnetic loop build video is coming, I'm working on it, but in the meantime, I recently helped a couple of friends install the latest version of Chirp-next on their Linux machines, their recent Linux machines. And I ran into a couple of gotchas with the serial access that I thought I should talk about. And so I figured I'd just go ahead and do a walkthrough video on installing Chirp-next. That's the latest version of Chirp. You might need it if you have some recent radios. I have a Quancheng UV-K5 series HT, which is what my friends also picked up. And there was support built into the latest Chirp-next for that particular HT with the modified firmware that's on it. Anyway, let's go to the computer and install Chirp. Oh yeah, before I do, if you're really only interested in the serial port gotchas that I mentioned, I'll put a time here on the screen. Jump ahead to that time just to learn about those serial port things you need to do. Otherwise, let's just go ahead and go to the computer and install the latest version of Chirp. Okay, we're going to start on the Chirp homepage, which is at this address, chirpmyradio.com, projects, Chirp, wiki, home with a capital H. I'll put a link in the video description. And this is where we're going to go to download the program. Now, we want to come down here to where it says Get It to get started and download Chirp for your platform. I'll click that. And what we want is Chirp-next. This is the most current version. And in the case of this HT, this has the support for the custom firmware built right into it. But nonetheless, this will be the latest version of Chirp, so it'll have all the current radios supported that it supports. This is where we'll go to download it, right here, this link. So I'm going to click that. And if we scroll down, these are the different packages. Now we've got a Mac OS app bundle. We've got a Windows standalone application, a Windows installer. We've got source code that we could build it from under Linux. But we already have a built version here that will work on the current versions of Linux. So I'm going to choose that one. And I'm going to right click and hit Save As because I want to download it to my desktop instead of my Downloads folder. Desktop. Now you'll notice this file name has a date in it. That is the current date, 2024-0502, the second day of May 2024. These are daily builds. You're going to need to pay attention to that date in your file name because you'll need that later when we're installing the application. Okay? Now I'm going to download it to my desktop, so I'll hit Save, and it's going to go ahead and download there. I'm going to go back, and down here where it says Chirp-next and the download link is, below it under Linux, details here, this is where we will find the installation instructions. I'm going to click that. Running Chirp on Linux. And so they give you the steps here. It's pretty straightforward. We have to install some prerequisites that we need, Python and a few utilities for Python. And they give you the line right here. Now, I'm on the Mate desktop. This probably works the same on most desktops. If I triple click, that's 3 clicks with the left mouse button, 1, 2, 3. That selects all the text in that field. See, got it all. Then I'll right click on it and I'll say copy. Now I will go to a terminal and I will shift Control V, or I could right click and say paste, and there's our command line to install the prerequisites. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to ask me for my password. Well, it will, the first time you do it, it'll ask you for your password and it will install everything. Now you shouldn't get any errors. This says 0 to do because I already did this. I've already installed all these things. But after this installation is done, we can go to the next step. Now, if you're running anything based on Debian, which is Ubuntu, Mint, Raspbian, etc., this is the command line you'll use. If you're using anything based on Fedora, this is the command line you'll use. So I'm using Pop! OS 22.04. So it's based on Debian and Ubuntu. So I'm using this line. Okay. Now we can install Chirp. And there are two variants here. If you're running Debian or Ubuntu 22.1 or earlier, which I am, 22.04, I'll use this line. If you're running a later version, you'll use one of these two, either one should work, and then this line to install it. But I'm going to use this one. And remember I said to pay attention to that date in the file name? Well, looky here. See, this is going to have to match when we enter this command. So I'm going to triple click to copy it. Okay, now that I've copied that line to install the program, I'm back in my terminal. Now I need to be in the same directory as the downloaded file. Okay, so I've got it on the desktop, and I am in, let's see, pwd shows print working directory. I'm in the home folder for my user, so I'm going to cd desktop. Now as you can see, I'm in my home desktop folder, which is where this file is. If I do an ls, there it is. So I'm going to shift control V to paste that line in. Now remember I said this date in the file name has to match, and as you can see their default pasted line is different, so I'm going to change this to match 2024-0502. Now this file name matches the actual file name, and if I hit enter, it should install. And it's telling me it's already installed because I already did this. Sorry about that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just do what they say. Okay. I had to add this force reinstall because I've already done this. It's already installed. You won't have to put that in there. All you'll have to do is just the file name. So anyway, now it is installed. But where is it installed? It's not installed in the normal place where the system programs go. They put it in your home directory. I don't know if they show that to you here or not. No, they don't, but I'll show you where it's at. Okay. If I go to test user home, which is my user directory home, and view hidden files, show hidden files, you'll see there's this .local directory. Any directory with a dot in front of it is hidden. I'll go in there, there's a bin, I go in there, and here's Chirp. Right there. So Chirp is now installed. And if I open and run, welcome to Chirp. There we go. Now, since it put it in this different place, I'm going to have to edit my menu. Ham radio, Chirp, properties. See, I already did this. But you would probably have to go in here and either create the Chirp entry, put the name in here, and put the full path, home, your home directory name, .local, /bin/chirp. Or you could browse right here to find it. Right? That's another way you could do it. Browse, go to your home directory, go to .local, bin, chirp. And I'll close. Now that is set for my menu. I can launch it from my menu now. So I've got the program running. I'm all ready to program my radio, right? Not quite yet. On most of the newer versions of Linux, there is a couple of things we have to do before we can access the serial port. One of those is there is a utility that's installed by default on most of the Debian-based newer versions called BRLTTY. It's a program for a Braille interface terminal that somebody blind would use to read the screen. If you're blind and you use this, you're probably fine because it's already got a hold of the terminal and you're good. But for everybody else, this program will try to grab everything you plug in that's serial, and then you can't access it. It took me a while to find this. We need to remove this application before we can access the serial port. So I'm going to go back to my terminal, and I'm going to type sudo apt remove brltty in lowercase. And, okay. it's already removed it, so it's telling me it's already removed. But you'll get the progress that it's removing it. So you have to do that first. Then the second thing you need to do, and I think I've got it saved in the cache here. Wait, did I see it? There it is. You need to add your user to the dial-out group so you have security to access the serial port. And this is the command that you'll type to do that. sudo usermod space dash lowercase a space dash capital G dial out and your username. So my user on this instance is test user. Done. Okay, now you'll need to reboot. Once you have rebooted and logged back in, you will be ready to plug in your radio. So I'm going to plug in my Quansheng. I've got the radio turned on. I've plugged the programming cable in. And I'm plugging the USB port into my computer. And now we can go back to Chirp. And then I'm going to come up here to Chirp, Radio, download from radio. You'll need to make sure that this is there. USB serial TTY USB 0. It'll be at the bottom of the list of TTY entries. Right? Quansheng UVK5. And I'll hit OK. And I'll hit OK. And there it goes. It's downloading from my radio. And there's all my data, just like that. So there you go. That's how you install the latest Chirp-next on Linux. And if you have one of these Quanshengs, you'll need it. And there you go. It works. So don't forget those 2 steps with the serial port. Uninstall BRL-TTY and adding yourself to the dial-out group. Those are the 2 gotchas. Once you've done that, everything should work. So there you go. That's how you install the latest version of Chirp-next under recent versions of Linux. I hope you found that useful. I'm going to go ahead and get back to work on that magnetic loop build video, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.